want the act, not the ghost.
Whoa. Well, hello and welcome back to the DCUK podcast. This is season 5 and it is episode 10. And as always, I'm your host, James Graham. Today is a bit of a somber podcast after the last couple, where we've been winning games and having some good times. And unfortunately, it all came to a halt last weekend against Cincinnati. And unfortunately, it continued on midweek against the Red Bulls. But, we move on. But as always, we'll need to break it down, look ahead to the game this weekend against Nashville, and, take some questions. And so if you've got any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat and I will answer them on the show. I've had a question sent in, so if you do want to add to that, please do. But as always, I'm trying to get back into it. We're going to do some trivia time. So for the first question of the episode, and probably the only question of the episode, and as I mentioned, we are playing Nashville this weekend, and the questions are usually themed around who we're going to be playing. So this week's question is, who scored the first MLS goal for DC United against Nashville? Who scored the first MLS goal for DC United against Nashville? Interesting question, but if you've got any thoughts as to who that would be, let me know, and we will answer that at the end of the show. So moving on to the actual bit of the podcast. So we've got some new stuff. Only a couple of bits. One announcement, personally, and then one club related. So let's roll the VT. So, news. Club-wise, we have Wayne Rooney has announced that in the press conference this week that we're expecting Mohamed Jeze to be back with the team next week. Not this week, so next week. Basically, if you don't know, he unfortunately was arrested and detained in Stockholm when he went back to Sweden to recover from his injury for alleged assaults. So he's been released from that and he should be coming back. As to if or when or anything that happens from these charges, well, I'll obviously let you know. But as it stands now, he'll be back next week and hopefully recovering very soon and he can get back on the pitch. Interesting to see what you guys think about Jeze right now after the allegations. Do you think he's deserving of a place back in the team? Or do you reckon he should be sat out for a while whilst things simmer down and things blow over? Or how would you play it? There's obviously the saying that innocent until proven guilty. And one of these are alleged assaults. We don't know if these are true. We hope that they aren't true. And in a way, well, it's difficult to say. I don't want to go down one particular path and say one thing and I regret that later. So I'm just going to keep quiet on that one. I think best left unsaid from my perspective, but I just hope that things turn out for the best. That's probably the best way I can say it. So there's that bit of news, but then on a personal level, one, looks like we're going to be getting a dog. There'll be a new puppy in the household. That's going to be interesting. But also, podcast-wise, we will have a guest joining us in the next couple of weeks. Claudia Began will be joining the show. It'd be great to have her back on the show. If you've not seen her on the podcast, she's been on a couple of times previously. Always a great laugh. bubbly, a lot of fun. So I'm pleased that she will be coming back on. So that will be very, very soon. So please make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast so you get to know when that happens. If you're watching on YouTube, you've got this little bell thing, notification bell. Just click that. That'll let you know as soon as I start going live and stuff like that. So please do that. And whilst you're there, whilst you're on that, if you are watching on YouTube, just give it a little like. Obviously, that always helps. And if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcast or anywhere that you can leave a review, please do leave a review. As soon as any are left on there, if you are leaving just a 5-star, brilliant, love it. If you want to leave an actual written review as well, I'll go through them. If they are constructive, I'll take that on board. If you just want to praise as well, I'm not going to argue about that. What can I say? So yeah, that's literally this week's news. So let's go back to the VT. So it's time to look at the game last weekend, the league fixture against Cincinnati. I won't be going through the cup game that we played on Tuesday nights. I do have a couple of thoughts about it, but I won't be going into any detail because unfortunately I didn't watch the game. It was midweek, and as you know, I do stay up late for these games, and staying up late for a midweek game just really isn't all that feasible. So yeah, I didn't watch that particular game at all. So yeah, won't be going through that one too much. But yeah, Cincinnati, we played them last weekend at TQL where we were unbeaten. I feel like that was a kiss of death when I mentioned that on last week's podcast. And yeah, we got beat. So yeah, that was that. I don't think it was there was some good positive aspects from that game. We played some really good soccer. But then there was times where there were momentary lapses in concentration, and that cost us dearly. So yeah, I think the first half we played really well, especially towards the end of the half as well. We were really hammering home and getting the opportunities. And I know Benteke had a couple, Lewis O'Brien had one, and it just looked like we were going to make the breakthrough. And I think we just ended up running out of time in the first half because I think it was 5 minutes of added time, and yeah, we just needed an extra 5 minutes, I think, and we could have broken the deadlock. But their keeper made some really good saves. He was very, very good. And it's just a shame because, like I said, I think we were almost there. And if we were able to get that first goal, I think we would have really gone on to score a couple more and would have beaten Cincinnati quite well. Noticed in the first half, we were frustrating Lucio Costa a heck of a lot. He was getting angry, rattled, picked up a booking, and you could see he was dropping. And I mentioned this on the podcast last week. One of my keys to getting a result against Cincinnati was to frustrate him, because when that happens, you see him dropping deeper and deeper and deeper to try and get the ball and do something, and he's just not effective from that deep position. So yeah, I think the first half we should look at that in a real positive light. And on another day, we could have had a goal or two, and I think we would have been okay. It was just on that day, the keeper made some really good saves, so you've got to give credit where credit is due there. But yeah, we just weren't able to take any of our chances that came our way. But then in the second half, I think we could have done a heck of a lot better, especially in the first 15, 20 minutes of that second half, because the big call and the big decision was on that corner where Lucio Costa scored directly from that corner. Paulson decided to go man mark when he should have been on that near post covering that area. And I think Acosta was very clever in seeing that there was that gap there, and fair play to him, managed to find that gap and get that goal. Um, 99 times out of 100, he probably wouldn't have got that on target and it wouldn't have gone in. But unfortunately, on this occasion, he got it, it went in, and he scored the goal. Paulson should take a lot of responsibility on that, I think, for leaving that area and giving that opportunity up. You should never leave the front post unmarked. It's one of the. It's just it's a basic thing, schoolboy thing. You never leave. I mean, the back post I've seen left by multiple teams in the past. Usually it doesn't end well, but that's what I've seen there. And yeah, we shouldn't have done that. So I was very disappointed by that one. Very frustrated. And more importantly, I was frustrated by the coverage as well of the game. Because the amount of times that they were just going to replays, we didn't see this goal live. And we saw another bit of play as well, where I think we had an attack. We heard the commentators happening, but there was no cameras on it, and it's just like those little things need to improve. But again, this is first season for MLS and Apple TV is together, and on a whole, it's been good. But that's something else entirely. The second goal, that Cincinnati goal, Barrial, was a great strike, don't get me wrong, but again, it was positioning that let us down, and Tyler Miller, unfortunately, was leaving a huge gap at that near post, and Barrial just had to get the shot on target, and it went in. I think Miller was probably caught in two minds as to whether to go to one side or to cover a potential cross or what. But yeah, he left his near post wide open. Barrial put some power behind it, and yeah, it went in. So again, so to me, that's two near post things that we really lacked upon that we should have done better with. So Paulson for the first one, Miller for the second one. But again, on the flip side on that one, is we didn't stop attacking. I really enjoyed that. I think we looked to get ourselves back into the game, and we looked like that we were wanting it. And we've seen that throughout this season so far, the never say die attitude, where in the past we would have gone 1-0 down and we would just hunkered down and that would have been it. We wouldn't have, we lacked the confidence to get back into the game and we would have gone 2-0 down, so on and so forth. But so far this season, we've gone a goal down or 2 goals down, and we still go for at least a consolation or something to get out of the game. And we saw that at the weekend. Taxi got a goal in the 90th minute from a corner set piece. He was free at the back post and was able just to tap it home. That's his second goal in 2 games. Really happy to see him starting to hit back a little bit of form. And, I can't argue with that. I do like seeing us continue right to the very end. And long may that continue. I hope you guys are happy with that as well, because I know there's a lot of frustrations over the years gone by where, we were happy to play for the draw, or if we were getting beat, then limit on how much we were going to get beat by, rather than trying and attempt to get something out of it. So yeah, I'm happy that we are doing that and we're trying to get something out of it. So I think key stats from the game at the weekend. So we had 54% of the possession, or 54.1 to be exact, which is unusual for us at the moment. We've not had that amount of possession for a while. Pamit's 53, just saying we were really sloppy in midfield. We have to take care of the ball. That's something that I actually didn't look at in particular. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the stats from our possession. If I just bring those up, give me 2 moments, and what our passing completion rate was. As I said, we had the majority of the ball in the game, and there was a lot of spells where we were having that. So our actual passing accuracy was 80.8%. And again, that's actually a bit higher than normal. Normally I think I've seen us down in the low dark depths of 50, 60% before. So the fact that we've got 80% is better than previous. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so on average so far this season, our passing accuracy has been 75.8. So better than average for this one, for that game. Other key stats wise, we're looking at we had 13 attempts on goal, at goal, I should say, not on goal. To Cincinnati's 11, we had 5 on target to their 4, and the quality of the opportunities were 1.2 to 1.1 expected goals, so quite even on that side of things as well. And when you look at the actual passages of play and you break it down into that side of things, the majority of the second half we were in control of the ball and in the game. And when you look at how much we were in the opponent's half, so when we did have that, we had the advantage on that side of things as well. So there was the effort there. And I think going on to Pamit's point there about being sloppy, and it's a lot of the times where we got into the final third and we just didn't quite make that correct final pass. Passes around the back are one thing, but passes in the middle and final third were a problem. Improved in the second half. I think the first half of the first half, that's where Cincinnati really controlled the game. But the last 5-10 minutes of the first half is where we actually started to look like we were doing it and looked like we were going to break the deadlock on that. And when you look at the opportunities that we did have, the majority of them came in, were inside the box as well. So we were working our way in, but they're just not really clear cut chances. I think that's something that we need to work on, is building those in. So whilst I agree with a couple of those points, Pamit, I think there's some things I think we need to look at the bigger picture, really. So moving on from that, the actual average position as well of the players was more attacking than Cincinnati as well. So you could see that I think once they got their second goal, they were happy to defend that, which is always a dangerous thing to do with a 2-goal lead, because as soon as you concede 1 goal, then the nerves start twitching, the bum cheeks get a little bit squeaky. And I think it was one of those ones where I think we just ended up running out of time. On another day, I think we could definitely have gotten a result out of this one. I think this one was there for the taking for sure. And that's the one thing I really want to emphasize on as well, is we've had that good streak, but there were against sides that we would expect to be doing at least decent against. This one, the way Cincinnati had been playing, who were really on form, especially at home, was going to be a big old test. And I think we did very well in that as well. I don't think we looked out of place too much. I think we did very well. But there's always room for improvement. We all know that. No doubt the attack has improved. The frustration is playing poorly in the first half and got behind. Had we started out better, we could have won this game. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. And that's something that we've seen in the majority of our games so far this season. That first 20 minutes, we start off incredibly slowly, and then we build into it. So if we are 0-0 after that first 20 minutes, then we know we can do something decent out of it. But yeah, if we do go a goal behind in that time, then we might start to struggle. So I'd like to see that change this weekend, and we see a really good opening 20 minutes where we try and dominate the game and do a lot of attacking in those first 20 minutes. I think it's just, I don't know whether it's the style that Rooney goes for in terms of trying to figure out what the opponent is doing and moving from that. So you can see that in the tactics that he's been using. He's looking at what the opponent is doing and trying to counter that rather than them doing that to us, rather than them having to figure out what we're going to do and them reacting to us. So it seems like we're quite a reactive kind of team rather than being proactive, which works to a point for sure. But I think we need to be a bit more proactive, especially at home as well. I think we need to really be a lot better at home in that aspect. Yeah, overall, I think this game was there for the taking. We could have done a lot better. And we should have taken those chances in the first half that we did have. I think in those last 5-10 minutes, we had 3 or 4 actual chances that we could have taken and we should have taken. Let's put it that way. So that's that game. Then we had the Open Cup game against Red Bulls, which we didn't bid to play at home, which I find strange even saying that out loud, because why should you need to bid to play at home? Surely that's just down to the draw? I mean, I might be thinking too simplistically about this and going from my experiences with English football, where the home team is the first team drawn out of the pot and the away team is the second team drawn out of the pot. But yeah, I find that very, very strange. I get it with clashes. I know that's one of the reasons why we didn't bid to play at home, is because Spirit were playing home on Wednesday, Audi on Wednesday. I still find that weird. Why? So yeah, I think that's, and something that Rooney had mentioned about the game on Tuesday night is the fact that we're playing at it's basically a university pitch. Now, I get it. These games don't tend to draw the biggest attendances, but play at your damn home stadium, for crying out loud. That is something that really frustrates me. You've got a stadium, just play at it. I just think, so if the home team, let's use a wild analogy here. Let's say a USL League One team is then ended up playing LAFC. So the USL League One team is at home. LAFC are the away team. If they need to play at a bigger stadium, then let them choose that. But that kind of draws the magic away from the draw of the cup. And again, I think, am I thinking too simplistically about this? Or am I just looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, especially with things like the FA Cup? I don't know. I just find it very strange. The US Open Cup is supposed to be like the FA Cup in terms of prestige and things like that, but when you get the MLS trying to dictate things like that, I just think that's a bit shoddy. I just think I get what you're saying about opening the stadium, costing thousands and thousands of dollars, 3,000-4,000 attendance. Yes, I get that, but that happens in England. And yes, I know the money's not, that aspect is not the same, but drawing attendance, reduce the ticket prices. Give tickets away for free at the local schools. try and bring in the attendance like that. Then you look at merchandise sales from that side of things rather than just from the ticket sales. Then you build up the audience, you build up new fans. Long game. So I don't. I I think most MLS clubs could take a hit from that by playing at the proper stadium. I just don't agree with it. So, but and then you look at the pitches as well. So you had us playing on a not exactly the best synthetic pitch, um, which meant that Rooney didn't want to risk the main players, so we ended up playing our B team. And because of that, Red Bulls played them. Well, not because of that, but Red Bulls played their main team and they beat us 1-0, which is kind of good to say because they only beat our B team 1-0. That's all they could do with their A team. But yeah, I really just disagree with the way it goes down. The Open Cup should be something that is looked on with a lot of pride, but it just doesn't seem to be so. You know, problem for US soccer. There's been a lot of criticism from US soccer on how they promote the cup. It was difficult to even see the games. Yeah, I mean this one was better because it was on YouTube, which is great. I think that's a great way of doing it. It's incredibly modern. I think that's how it probably should be if they want to get the cup promoted and reaching a wider audience is by doing things like that. But yeah, I think there needs to be a huge rethink on how the cup is done. And I get from the aspect of you've got your B teams for some of the MLS clubs not allowed to play each other. I get that from that side of things. So you need to be careful with the draws and things. But you know, that's how it is. Garber was really critical of US soccer and how they run the Open Cup. It kicked off a big discussion and blowback to Garber. He said the cup made the MLS cups look bad. Yeah, that's poor from Garber. Should not be saying things like that. The MLS is the MLS. That's completely separate to the Open Cup. The Open Cup should be one of those things that, again, like I said before, there should be prestige behind it. There should be a lot of pride behind it. It's a cup with a lot of history. And maybe I should do an episode about the US Open Cup, just as a separate side project, because I think it'd be actually quite cool to look at the history of the US Open Cup because it's over a century old. It's been going for. So let me know if you want actually something like that from my perspective as well. From an English perspective, what do I think of the US Open Cup and how does that compare to cups from over here? So the cups that we have, if you don't know, so everyone kind of knows about the FA Cup. That's kind of a worldwide prestige famous tournament. Then we've got the League Cup, which differs year on year with its sponsorship. I mean, currently it's called the Carabao Cup, but previously it's been like the Coca-Cola Cup, Worthington's Cup, Carling Cup, amongst others. Then we've got the League Trophy, which is played between League One and League Two teams. That really does differ so often in terms of the sponsorships. I think it's the Papa John's Trophy at the moment. I might be wrong on that one. But it's also been the Johnson's Paint Trophy, the LDV Vans Trophy, this, that, and the other. You then got the FA Trophy, which is for the National League and the National League North and South divisions. And then, I think those are the main trophies that we've got. So, I might actually look at it from that perspective and see how it would compare. But as a direct comparison, it's going to be the FA Cup because, as rightly said, it is both open to pro and for the FA Cup, it's semi-pro and amateur clubs. there's many qualifying rounds to get up to the first round proper. And then it goes from there, and teams enter in at different stages as well. I think what I do actually enjoy or enjoy the way it's done is one of the French Cups where every single team joins in right from the very beginning, and it's this massive tournament. I think that's great. So you'd get likes of PSG playing as like amateur team and stuff like that. I think that's a wonderful thing. So yeah, I might just have to do an episode about that, look at the history of it, and maybe just come up with what I would see being the ideal US Open Cup format. Yeah, I think I might just have to do that. But let me know if you want that. Yeah. But yeah, we ended up playing against Red Bulls with the B team. We got beat 1-0. Not a great pitch to play on. Yeah. So we're no longer in that. No more extra games in that side of things. We lose out on a potential CONCACAF Champions League spot because of that. It is what it is. There's no real worry about thinking back on it. We just got to concentrate on the league now. So there's that. So concentrating on the league, we've got Nashville this weekend. Nashville, who are doing okay, shall we say? They're doing well in the league. They're on some decent form at the moment. They've only lost one of their last 5 fixtures, but they've only won 2 and they've drawn 2. So they've only managed to get 8 points compared to our 9, which is quite nice. When you look at the standings, they're currently in 3rd place in the East. So we played Cincinnati, who were joint top last week. We're now playing a team who were just below them. So a really difficult couple of games that we're having in the league. Their away form at the moment is 1-1, lost to drawn 1. So their away form is, if you can quantify that into a word, but that's so yeah, as I said previously, our streak came to an end. Head-to-head wise for this one is we've only played each other 4 times in the league. We've not won this fixture yet. Nashville have won 3 and we've drawn once. So a bit tricky on this one. Omens wise is not great, but it's only 4 fixtures. Nashville have scored 9 goals in those 4 fixtures. We've currently not won 2 games at home in a row. So obviously the last home fixture, which was 2 weeks ago, we played Charlotte and we beat them 3-0. But we've not won 2 games in a row at home in just over 12 months. So it's been a while since we've done that. And that was New England and Houston. I just go back to the Open Cup stuff there. Matt, I think the US sports fan likes a big bracket, not a draw every round, March Madness style for the Open Cup. Okay. I'm not too affair with what March Madness is. I believe it's basketball. But I'll have a little look into that. So I can get a nice, well-rounded feel for what could be done. So yeah, moving back to the Nashville game. Nashville's last fixture against Chicago, they attempted 30 shots. 30 shots. It's just crazy. And then 25 of those were in the box. They know how to work the ball into the box. That's a scary thought. And that is the most by any team since 2010. So in the last 13 years, no other team has had more than 25 shots in the box. I mean, it's crazy to think you'd get 25 overall. So the fact that they got 30 and 25 of those are in the box is just crazy. But we're good at blocking. So there's that. Taxi reached his 15th MLS goal last week. So that's good. and that was just in 28 matches. There's only ever been 6 players who've reached that milestone quicker for DC United. And in the last 15 years, only one player has done that quicker than Taxi has, and that was Wayne Rooney, who did it in 23. So, absolute fair play. Well done, Taxi, for reaching that milestone already. Hani Mukhtar has been involved in 9 goals in the last 6 matches, so 6 goals and 3 assists. But overall, only 3 other teams have scored more than 9 goals in that time. So they are really on fire in terms of the forward play. And yeah, absolutely. So Pamit absolutely hit the nose on the head. The key to Nashville is Mukhtar. He is their DP. So trying to nullify his presence on the pitch is going to be the biggest win if we can do this. Zimmerman on set pieces. Yeah. Walker Zimmerman is a top player for them. He was one of the best signings they could have made when they came, because I think he was signed in the expansion draft, I want to say. You might have to correct me on that one, but I believe that was the case. Zimmerman is a top player. But we've also got Donny Pines, who can mark him out the game in terms of their set pieces wise. In terms of height and aerial presence, I think that's probably a good way of doing it. Our availability for this weekend, so Birnbaum, Santos, and Nahar are all sidelines, unfortunately. But Ted KDP, he is back in training. He resumed training today, so we'll see whether he makes it for the weekend or not. And then Nigel Roberta is still out injured, so he's still recovering. I'm going to have to look at Zimmerman now after that comment there. Zimmerman. Actually, no, let's not just put Zimmerman in. Let's put Walker Zimmerman to Nashville. I'm going to have to. And so, no, sorry, he wasn't part of the expansion draft. Excuse me for that one. He was traded to Nashville for up to $1.25 million in GAM. And that was, so he signed when Nashville were coming into play. So that is why, and he scored the first goal in Nashville's history. So not the actual expansion draft, but he's signed as part of Nashville's roster building. So that's where I got that particularly wrong. There you go. He is definitely a key player. But as mentioned, Hani Mukhtar as well. And they've also got 2 Generation Adidas players, and Jack Meyer and Joseph Skinner, both defenders. Jack Meyer wears the number 5 shirt. So for this weekend, start for the US men's national team. He absolutely is, and he absolutely deserves that place. He's just great. I would love to see him in Europe. I think he would be a great player over here. I think whether he wouldn't be a top 6 Premier League player, I think, but I think any team below that he would fit in very nicely. Or if he was going to be in the top 6 side, you'd have to have a strong presence next to him just to help him along. But I think he's got a look good attributes to him, especially from the aerial presence. He is so good in the air. I kind of want him in our team. I think he would be fantastic, especially the way we look at the set pieces, and we tend to win a lot of aerial duels as well. So that's going to be one of the big things to look out for this weekend. But yeah, speaking of this weekend, predictions. You would be a hell of a lot better than Leeds United defenders. I could be a lot better than a Leeds United defender right now, I think. I don't think it would take much. And it pleases me to see that, because I'm not a Leeds fan. I don't like Leeds in any way, shape, or form. So I apologise if you're a Leeds fan, but I don't like Leeds. So what can I say? I kind of like them a bit when they when the American invasion was happening, but you know that was only slightly. Uh, Still, I'm a Middlesbrough fan. There's a lot of hatred there. So, how do you see Zimmerman and Benteke? It's going to be a really good matchup. That one. I think what'll happen is there'll be a lot of jostling. I think Benteke will try and stand his ground a lot in this one, which he does anyway. But I think this one's going to be he's going to have to work hard, really hard to get that first touch under control because I think Zimmerman's going to be all over him. I think it's going to be spot on. I think we're going to see an entertaining fixture this one. I would like to think there's going to be quite a few goals in this one. Um, but I think Benteke is we're going to have to not rely on him for our attack because I think that matchup between him and Zimmerman is going to be so tough. I think we're going to need to avoid it a lot. We're going to need to utilize our wings a heck of a lot more, I think. When you look at like Taxi, I think he's going to be a huge presence in this game. The way he chases things down, the pace he has, I think we need to see him and whoever's going to be playing on the left-hand side. That's how we're going to. I think that's our key aspect there. How far will Benteke move back in towards midfield to get the ball and try and pull Zimmerman out of position? I think it's a good thing to look at as well. I think that's actually quite a nice way of putting it. Yeah, I think that's actually a good idea to have that there. But I think Zimmerman's probably clever enough to not fall into that trap. So it'd be good to see if that happens a couple of times. Try it. But if it's not happening, move on to something else quickly because Benteke is then going to be out of the game from that aspect rather than jostling up with Zimmerman. I just think he needs to push Zimmerman around. Just like I said, make his presence known. Maybe he's tap the ankle once or twice, pick up a yellow card for it, and then just play through it. If Zimmerman's out, Taxi would have room to run through. Yeah, I know 100%. If Zimmerman gets caught out of position, then we will be through. But I think Zimmerman's quite clever for that. So let's not try and rely on that too much. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky game, this one. Nashville scoring lots recently. They've scored 3 goals in the last 2 games consecutively. Hani Mukhtar is a heck of a player. As we've just been talking about, Zimmerman is a great defender. But I'd like to think there's going to be goals in this one. My head says a 2-2 draw. My heart wants a 3-1 win. I don't think there's going to be a clean sheet in this one. No way there's going to be a clean sheet in this game. But yeah. My head, 2-2. Heart, 3-1. What are your thoughts on this one? What would you be predicting in this game? If you listen to this after the fact, then please do tweet in or message me on Facebook or whatever, whichever way you interact with me, or drop a comment in the YouTube. But yeah, I've got to make a final decision, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to do that on Saturday when the game's coming up. So you can ask me then. But yeah, as I said, head says 2-2, heart says 3-1. Yeah. That's that for the preview. I would love a win, but I'm thinking 2-1 or 3-1 loss. Yeah, I mean that's also a realistic thing that could happen. Again, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm really excited about it, not just from the fact that we could really show how much we've improved, but actually just from a neutral perspective, I think this is going to be such a good watch. So I hope I'm not bigging it up too much. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. So, and I've been quite excited for each of the games so far this season, especially after that opening game against Toronto. I just think there's been something there that we've not seen for a long time, and that never say die attitude. Um, you see everyone's playing for each other. Everyone's happy to run over, congratulate their colleague, their teammate. And when you see little things like when Jacob Green scored his first goal and the celebration behind that, it just warms my heart and makes me proud to support the club. So Matt's coming in there with a 2-1 win. I would love that. A 2-1 win would be great. If you can match Nashville at the beginning, then we will have a chance because we are doing the better the longer the game goes on. Yeah. So like I said, if we can get in those first 20 minutes through that unscathed, we've got a huge chance. But I would like it for us not to have to worry about those first 20 minutes. So wishful thinking, not have to worry. But yeah, we need to get through those first 20 minutes. That's how long it takes for us to seem to warm up into these matches. So yeah, you're right. If we can match them in the opening stages, we'll be all right. Cool. Moving on to a question that was sent in by Victor over on Instagram. This is going back into sort of the Open Cup territory. So he asked, the club puts no effort into the Open Cup and it's frustrating. Fair or unfair? And then this is going back, and I think this is more towards not just for this season, but the previous seasons as well. I think when was it when Chad was in charge? No, it would have been last year, and the fact that we just threw the game. There was just literally no effort in that whatsoever. Yeah, it was just after Lasada got sacked. There's no effort in that. So I think from that perspective, yes, that's a fair thing to say. But from what Rooney was saying, and if you take that as gospel, then obviously it's a little bit unfair because you don't want to risk your main 11 on a pitch that could potentially cause injuries. And you got to think about when you look at MLS as a whole, the travel aspect, there's so much traveling involved, so many different styles of pitches as well, with different climates and things like that. Then the toll that takes on the body is a lot more than what you would see in the Premier League, for example, where the furthest you travel by car is probably 4 or 5 hours max. And that's it. Or if you get in a flight, 45 minutes. So, and the climate is wet or a spot of sunshine followed by wet. So, yeah, I think there's fairness in what you're saying, Victor, but also I think the bigger picture says possibly a little bit unfair as well. And I think it's fair to say that there's no effort put in because there's no effort from the whole thing as well. Especially from the promotion side and how it's conveyed to the wider audience, but unfair from the other aspect as well. So, yeah. So Open Cup is regional, so they travel as much as. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you see that in the draws where they were put into different pots of 3 or 4 different teams. And that was all regionalized. But again, the league travel is where it is the killer bit. So you got to look at that side. So yeah, moving on to the final bit of the show, which is the trivia time, the answer to the opening question. So if you weren't around, you, Pam, Nick, Matt, anyone else who's watching live for the first couple of minutes, the question was who scored the first MLS goal for DC United against Nashville. So I'm just going to give you guys just a little moment to think about that. Let's say who scored the first MLS goal for DC United against Nashville. if you need a little clue, it was a game that John Kempen was starting in goal for us. So that's kind of the time that you're looking at. He also conceded 5 goals in that game as well. So, yeah, that was not. I just dropped my pen, so apologies for that. So, yeah, that was not a particularly good game for us, but one particular player who's still involved with the club, shall we say, scored this goal. And I'm just going to give you 5 more seconds of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Fred Brion. He scored the first DC United goal against Nashville in that 5-2 defeat. The other player who scored in that game was Golo Kamara, when we were talking about the hype train back in those days. When he scored, when he was joint top scorer in the league. So that was one of the highlights from that year. Ola Kamara had such a good year. I think it was 19 goals he scored, tied with Tati Castellanos. So yeah, there you go. That's it for this week. So, as mentioned in the news at the start, Claudia will be joining us in a couple of weeks' time as a guest on the show. So keep your eye out for that one. I'm really excited to have her on the show again. But do, as I said before, make sure you subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss that episode, and go and check out previous episodes with her. A lot of fun. She's just absolutely brilliant. So I'm really excited to have her back on. But yeah, that's it for this week. Hopefully we'll get to Matt and I say hi. I'm sure you will. Cool. But yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Pamit and Matt, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you in the chat. Enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you. It's awesome. So yeah, that's it for this week. Let's hope next week we get back onto the win streak, start off a new win streak, because we can do it. So yeah, until next time, Vamos United.
Swallowed on record, off record deals. Tell them talk to Colin for the quote. On record, off record, I still want the act, not the ghost.